waiting to cut over.
Relax,
There we
chill,
go.
happy to be on the
Just
couch.
hanging out.
Yeah. How are you feeling, McKendree?
Whew, I'm feeling great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
You look
okay,
awesome.
You do
Thank
look
you.
fantastic.
I know.
Yeah, I have to say.
I need
I'm
a
going to
nap.
say
Fresh.
she looks a little better than the men's chip. I'm just going to come out
Sorry,
and say
Chris.
it. Yes, totally. So tell us about your day. Tell us how you're feeling, how
Yeah.
things went for you.
Yeah. I'm feeling great. This was like a phenomenal day, like
Yeah.
just a miraculous one. It seems like in a lot of ways, just from the beginning, I feel like everything agreed. Like body felt good,
Wow.
GI stuff felt good, like like one little blister, and that's about it. So
Nice
it just
work.
was like really like steady day all day.
Amazing.
Nice. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
saw you a couple of times, certainly at Cottonwood, maybe at Hancock, and
Yep.
yeah, you looked very positive and happy the whole time.
You know,
Is that a good kind of like representation of the whole time? Were you that happy the whole way through?
not
Not always.
but for the most part, I had a race a couple of years ago where I had like a major pity party for myself. and
We've
it
all
was
been
such
there.
a valuable lesson
Yeah.
of like how not useful
Not to do it.
it
Yeah.
is. So
Yeah.
I
Totally.
just like tried to stay in it, stay
Yeah.
present, and had great crew and pacers that were super helpful in that regard. So
So it seems I was ultra sign up stalking you. Looks like you've got some results going back to 2013. So you've been kind of doing trail running, long distance stuff for quite a while.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the background. How did you get into it? What's your kind of current view of it? What excites you about kind of trail racing?
Totally. So got into it via like road running, and then
Okay.
we lived in Seattle and did
Okay.
like one trail race, and after that I was like, bye.
Peace out, running, road running.
And then I feel like it was this natural progression of like, well, you do a 50K. I'm like, well, you've done a 50K
Yeah,
now. Do the 50 miler.
Yeah.
And then when
You
we
can
moved-
go backwards in distance. It is
Yes.
possible. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So they tell
You know
me.
this.
So they
Yeah.
tell me.
Yeah.
And then just really got into it, especially in the last like 5 years. Decided to try
Okay.
to take it much more competitively and kind of
Yeah.
see what I could do if I really like put the energy and effort into it. And it's
So
been,
this
like,
your second 100?
second 100.
Looks
yeah.
like you did Javelin 100.
Yes,
Was
last
it this last
October.
October?
Okay,
Okay,
yep.
you did pretty well at that one.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I tore my calf at like mile 65, so it was
Ooh.
a pretty painful finish. But
Okay.
it was such a cool race too. And I
Yeah.
mean, these couldn't be any different. But
Totally.
it was still such a good time.
Well,
Okay.
and what drew you from that race to this race? I mean, you just said these races are so different.
Yeah. I have always loved the mountains. I used to be a backpacking guide like way back
Okay.
in the day in
Yep.
Steamboat, and have just loved the mountains and the high alpine. And Javelina, I was just curious like what I could do from a like racing perspective. Just flat almost feels more like that road vibe in some ways.
Yeah.
And then after that, really liked the 100-mile distance, which I was kind of hoping I like wouldn't, because like, oh, I can check it off and then be done. But I'm like, shoot,
Dang
I
it.
did
I'm
like
good at
that.
this.
I'm gonna have to grind this out.
Totally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Totally. So yeah, and then got into the lottery this year and knew I had to.
You
had
gotta
to
do. You gotta
it.
take it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard
absolutely.
amazing things
Yes.
about it, and it did not. I mean, this course is phenomenal. Just the views alone, I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I could just like sit here and DNF and just like look at the mountains, like so pretty.
But instead, you took a very large bite out of the women's course record. I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of people wondering sort of what that felt like for you,
Yeah.
how you put your attention towards that, if you knew it was happening, at what point you knew it was happening, and how you
Yeah.
kind of, kept your focus on it.
Yeah, it was not on my. I really like a
Wow.
great day was going to be 25 hours.
Oh my
for
goodness.
Me. Like I had
Wow,
no
okay.
idea that I was
Yeah.
capable of that.
Okay.
And then when I got into Cottonwood,
Yeah.
my crew was like, "You have 8 minutes on the course record." And I'm like,
Wow.
Annie Hughes, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's no
You're
way.
like, which course record?
And
Yeah.
she had a good day that day. I was
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and she ran an
did.
excellent race to
Yeah.
finish there. Yeah.
And then at a Monarch, my pacer said we were like 40 minutes up on it, and I just still kept like, that just can't be possible.
Yeah.
And then in the last couple of miles looked, I was like, I was like, maybe I'll dip under 23. I was like, oh my gosh, we're like close
Significantly.
under 22. Like,
So was that on your
yes.
mind throughout, or did you kind of tune out and just focus on getting the job
Yeah.
done, and not making any mistakes?
I would say that I try to be a super smart racer, like just like eat every 30 minutes, like
Okay.
just stay present, run
Yep.
my own race. And
Yeah.
Laura was just charging
Yeah.
the whole time. And I was
Yes.
like, don't run scared, just stay running smart.
How did you manage that fear though? Because you were really tight for
Yeah.
most of the race.
Yeah.
Were
I
you
didn't
were you
like it.
aware of that? Did you know what the gap was? I presume you did.
I did at Cottonwood because
Okay.
I saw her and
Yeah.
I looked
Of
when I
course.
left
Yeah, I'm back.
Cottonwood.
Yep.
I was like, okay, she's got like 6-7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then she kept gaining and gaining. And when we left Blanks, we heard her come in. And then once we kind of got out of the climb out of there, my pacer was like, I'm going to need you to run as much as you possibly can. And I was like, okay, I know the drill.
Not what you want to hear.
Yeah. So just kind of like heads down and
Yeah.
cranked it out. And it's like, if I can get to Raspberry and hold her off till there,
Yeah.
like I knew that I could, once we got on the roads, would have like hopefully the speed to hang on until the end. So
Mhm.
just same thing, like kind of drop the
And it
head.
was, I
Yeah.
wrote this down, but you were I think within 4 minutes of each other at
At
blank.
blank.
Yes, you were
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
was there.
very tense.
Yes,
Yes.
totally.
And were
that's
you
when
aware of that then? You knew it was still close at that point?
I could hear her.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
we heard
Wow.
the cheer basically.
Yes.
And we were like, she's got to be right
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
But I know I don't do well running scared. So
Yeah.
I was like, just stay
Just-
present,
okay.
run your
Yep.
race.
Yeah.
Like if she passes you, then you get a chase,
Yeah.
and or like maybe she just
Yeah.
has more in the tank, and we'll see.
I mean,
what
it seems
happens.
like you must have closed really hard in that last section. I mean,
Yeah.
just based on the differential at the end, I presume she probably had a strong finish too. But to run the time you did, that must have been a fantastic kind of full on running for the
Yes, yeah.
majority.
The last like 3 miles down to Raspberry, I
Yeah.
just kind of, it was pretty smooth.
Yeah,
Like, no,
cruisy.
not too many
Yep.
rocks again.
Yeah.
So just kind of tried to open up there. And then same thing, once we got to the top of the climb out of Raspberry, was just like, okay, let's go time and hit the road. And
Yeah.
was like, all right, let's just see.
You did not get that relaxing, take it all in.
No,
finish.
there was
you
not.
didn't.
I was
No,
like,
yeah.
we're going to cross the finish line and then we'll take it in.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And what is that, when you're sort of trying to sort of stay on the gas, grind it out, what is that mental narrative like for you? What is the sort of, what are you saying to yourself? How do you keep yourself focused and on your game?
Yeah. I really try just to like be present. I was saying to like my crew, like there's sometimes like I can't wait to like go to bed, or like I'm really tired. And I'm like, no, just stay present. Like
Yeah.
just this is the task at hand. And
Yeah.
so I feel like just trying to focus on that, focus on my breathing a lot. I feel like I have like a handful of like little mantras like I use like
Okay.
throughout the day. And but yeah, I think that might be one of the things I've like cultivated over time, is just that ability to like stay in
Yep.
it. I do a lot of like winter treadmill running, so I feel like that like gives you the
Similar
ability
kind
to,
of,
like,
yeah.
be
Is
in
that out of
grind.
necessity?
Totally.
You live near Steamboat, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's, unless you want to run on ice, which I don't at
Yeah.
5 a.m. So
Yeah.
So a lot of treadmill miles.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a little bit of mental exercise on the cost of
Totally.
how to do it. Yeah,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you mentioned your crew. Who's out here with you today? How was that support system? How are your pacers?
Yeah.
What's your network like?
Yeah, great community of folks. So my husband's crew chief. Shout out to him. He's fabulous. Coordinating everything.
Yeah.
My dad, like 2 days ago, texted me. He was like, I'm coming. I was like, great. So he was here.
Awesome.
And then had my in-laws were here, and then 3 pacers. One
Amazing.
friend that lives locally, and then a couple other folks from Steamboat.
Nice.
And so most of them are folks that I've like run with before, have like lots of relationships with. And yeah, they were all phenomenal. Everyone like played a different part, from just like either being really chatty, or my second pacer was like, you're just not letting off the gas. And it was a lot of like quiet and just like
Yeah.
every
Yep.
couple minutes, like, you look good. Keep
Mhm.
going.
Do more.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do more of that.
Totally.
Yeah, it's
So-
always tough to figure out
Yeah.
when with a pacer and a runner. Like, is it talking you're looking for, or is it quiet? Did you kind of oscillate
Totally.
between those two? Or what do you typically prefer?
I did. My first pacer is like super chatty, and so we had like lots of conversation. And then like when I started getting kind of later on, I was like, there's not much talking that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we kind of went into more just like, we're here together,
Yep.
and silent mode. And
Nice.
then my friend who paced me the last like 7.5, we haven't seen each other in a while, so she was chatty at first. Then I was like, we're gonna have to catch up later, because like, I'm not
You can talk at
I got
a
me,
race to
that's it.
win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, so it was a good dynamic all around. I feel like pacers, to me, it's just a matter of like having people that you trust, they're gonna push you,
Yep.
that
Mhm.
like you can forgive them later for like telling you to do stuff you don't want to do.
Yep.
and-
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
can say the things that you might not say in other circumstances.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. And they
Amazing.
can see you at your worst, and that they're like in your corner and
Yeah.
Mhm.
supporting you in that way.
Totally.
And are you familiar with this area? Were these trails kind of things you run on before, or was this all new? Are you seeing it for the
All
first time?
new.
Wow.
I've done
okay.
a lot of
Wow.
boating down here, but
Okay,
never,
never-
like
never running.
I've never done any of the, I think I've done like Elbert and Massive. That's
Okay.
pretty much it. And
Yeah.
years ago. So all of
Yeah.
it was new. I mean, we got up to the top today, that first climb, and I was like, oh my, like, how have I not been
Yeah,
up
it's
here?
beautiful.
Awesome
Yeah, it's
here.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, everything was new, and just like, so, which I think is really fun. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people like to like run courses
Yeah,
before,
sure.
but my preference is typically not to,
To be
like
surprised.
when the novelty's there. and-
Totally.
So
yeah,
what
you-
surprised you most about the course? Like, was there anything that would surprise you that it was more like harder than you thought, like the Colorado Trail at the end or the mountain stuff at the
Yeah,
beginning?
the whole like runnable at the end is like
Runnable.
debatable. Part of
Yeah,
it felt really
yeah.
runnable. Nothing felt. I do think some of the downhills were steeper than I thought they were, and I
Yeah.
like
That
just those
Antero descent,
downhill-
eh?
Yes, on
It's
those
Yeah.
roads,
so
with those,
rocky,
like,
so talcy.
and I
Yep.
was like, just take it easy, like
Yeah.
just take it easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the run down Purgatory was like a delight because it's like they've smoothed that road
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
nice. So that was actually really good. Both me and my pacer were like, oh, this is incredible. It's
Yeah.
so smooth.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
yeah.
Nice.
And thinking ahead to 2025, if you were going to give advice to somebody who was, you in contention for a podium spot,
Yeah.
thinking about this particular race, what would you say to them, either about the race itself, about training? How would you kind of advise and encourage them?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that my training held up. I did quad rock in May,
Yeah.
and I think that was like such
Yeah.
a good training stimulus.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yep.
it wrecked me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that like
It's a
really,
surprise one, isn't
It
it?
is a
Yeah.
surprise
gosh.
one.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I think I was more sore after that than I feel
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Like,
It's,
so
I think it's used a lot by a lot of Colorado folks as a
Yep.
kind of season opener.
totally
Test the
Yeah.
metal, see where you stand.
Totally.
You know, how good your training been.
for sure.
And how
Yep.
was it?
My training was kind of not. I didn't do a lot of vert in the winter.
Okay.
It's just so hard.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I was severely under vert
Yeah.
trained. I was going a lot slower on the downhill than the
Gotcha.
uphill towards
Yep.
the end.
Yeah.
But I think it was great. So definitely I would say do like a big quad something, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
early in May.
Yeah. And you've done
Um,
Never Summer a couple of times as well in the NAR series,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is a phenomenal race.
Yeah.
I mean, I love them and such
Yeah.
a good
Yeah. It's a
organization too.
Great
and-
team.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think that, and then really, I didn't hear what you all were saying, no speed work. I disagree
guessed.
wholeheartedly.
So do I, by the way.
But I think just being able to like turn it on at the end,
Yeah.
which was really
Yeah.
my goal,
Yeah.
was like if I can have some speed at the end,
Yeah.
then I like have the ability to like do
Yeah.
well. And I
Yep.
think this is a unique race in that way that like
Mhm.
if you can run, you actually can like
There's
make up a
terrain to
lot of
run.
distance at
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Things
I mean-
changed radically right at the end,
Yeah.
as they did in both the men's and women's this year, right? I think we saw a flip at mile 85 in both the men's and women's race.
Yeah, dang.
So it was pretty close. So it got close. I think it didn't flip, but it got within 4 minutes.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
mile 85. And we're seeing this in, Western just a few weeks ago.
sure.
You know, things are getting pretty tight and,
Yep.
Yep.
spicy at the end of these races now.
My pacer at the end, she was like, "Did you watch the end of States?" And I was like, "Yeah, with Hayden Hawks." I was like, "That's not happening. Like that's not we're going. We're
Yeah.
not doing a sprint finish."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to keep moving if
Yes,
you don't want that sprint
totally.
finish. Yes.
And then the sprint finish here is up a giant
Yeah,
hill,
right,
which would be
exactly.
very
Yeah, she was like, "Do
suboptimal,
you
yeah.
think you can run this?" And I was like, "No, I'm
No.
good."
Yeah. You're like, I'll take what I get. Yeah,
Totally.
totally. Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what are your plans for the next couple of days? How are you looking ahead to recovery?
Yeah, lots of just sitting and resting. So I'll
Yes.
take at least like a full week of just hanging out
Yeah.
and relaxing, and then kind of see how the body's feeling. But
Mhm.
I'm really already pretty pleased at like not
Yeah.
feeling
Amazing.
awful, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yes,
So
and I will say you do not look like you feel awful, which is wonderful.
you know that you gotta
Yeah.
fake it if not.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
fake
the
it till you
aid
make it,
station, like,
totally.
you
That
so you
is-
come in looking
it
great.
is a
You're
strategy.
not.
Exactly.
So you seem to
Exactly.
be very good at running 100 miles. What's the next kind of year or two look like? Have you got anything else like
Yeah.
on the radar?
I'm not signed up for anything yet, so
Okay.
we'll see. I wanted to get through after Javelina and like got hurt on that. I was like, I'll just like sign up for this, get through it, and kind of
Yeah.
see. But I like was pretty impressed with what I did, so now I'm like, okay, let's
Looking around.
see what's
Let's see what else
possible.
is out
So
there. Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to see what you choose and where you
Thank
head
you.
next, 'cause clearly there are big things in store
Yeah.
for you.
Oh, thank
Yeah, it was
you.
a pleasure watching you out there. What an amazingly well executed race,
Yes.
I will say. Yeah,
Thank
truly
you.
a pleasure.
It was a great one.
Absolutely.
Great.
Anything else that you want to add about your day, about your experience, anything that we didn't ask you?
Just a shout out. I mean, we were saying on the drive over, this is one of the best organized races I've ever been a part of. And
Totally.
like just the small details, and every volunteer and every aid station was just incredible. So just a genuine shout out to everyone who put
Yep.
it on, because it's like phenomenal from start to finish.
Yeah.
And you can feel it when you're out there. So that
Amazing.
was awesome.
Yeah. No, it's a great
Excellent.
crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Nice.
thanks for joining us in the
Yes, thanks for
studio.
having me.
This was your women's champion, McKendree Hickory,
Awesome.
who had a stellar day out there, it seems.
We did.
Yeah.
Looking remarkably fresh. So,
Yes.
Cool. Well, thanks
Okay.
for having me.
Congrats, McKendree.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
absolutely.
okay, back over to the finishing line here. Hopefully, we missed a few folks rolling in there, so apologies to anyone.